Welcome to another broadcast of the Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the November 9th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Betty, you have a talk? Oh, I'll do the thought for the day. Some of us don't get interested in anything until we find it's none of our business.
Okay. Good morning. This week's featured pet at the Lorain County Dog Kennel is a stray male golden retriever mix, less than a year old. He was picked up on Oberlin Road in Carlisle Township. He is in cage 35 and is eligible for adoption immediately. And look what a good little dog he is. Beautiful color. He's looking around. Maybe he'll stay here. Make somebody a nice pet. Stop by our kennel and see what we have available. Thank you.
We have appointments.
Mr. Ron Navikoski, Clerk of Courts, in regards to his appropriation.
Ron?
Is he here?
Well, we've got a short presentation. We hope will encourage you to solve a problem we have. The problem is that we're short $77,500 between our payroll account and our public employees retirement system obligations. The available alternatives, when we found that we were going to be short this year, will cripple the operation of the court. Specific mandates in the Ohio Revised Code, which I've got 1,100 and some of them here if you want to see them today.
We'll take your word for it.
Our mandates, and they are not optional, they will not go away. Clerk of Courts has made and continues to make major contributions to the general fund revenues. It's part of our week in and week out activity, and we think you ought to give us some credit for that. Clerk's activities are not discretionary, more than 1,000 specific mandates, and the clerk cannot hope to meet these mandates within the current funding level. Here's a look at our last 4 years' payrolls amounts. Amount requested is on the top line. It's the 975. We significantly, for some reason or other, communications or whatever, we continually get less than we ask for. And as you see at the bottom, we actually end up spending more than we ask for. So this is kind of a dynamic thing, something I no idea how to solve. But anyway, see, our payroll's been pretty steady except for pay raises and employees who have left. 2005 is bigger because we had 2 employees that retired and took big amounts of cash with them. We have one major slot that we've not replaced in the operation, and we've got one minor slot. And we're plugging along, waiting for the future. $77,500 will solve our problem. The alternatives we considered back late spring when we found out about this was to lay off 10 employees by May 12th. We looked at that, figured we couldn't get the job done, we couldn't meet constitutional requirements if we did that. We looked at a 4-day week beginning in June. Again, I've had meetings with the judges, I've had letters from the appeals court, always because we're a little bit behind. We don't have extra people, we don't have enough people. Or we close our doors on November 17th. All alternatives will cripple the court, and I don't think the court will allow the last one to happen. Our budget request this year was simply a continuation of last year's staffing. We didn't add any people. We added no new activities. The legislature didn't even give us any new mandates. 2 additional deputies, I think, should be hired. I would hire them right now if I had the money to anticipate the needs of the new court. And people get the idea that new court isn't going to create more work for us, and that's just silly. They have a big backlog. That's why they got the extra court. When that backlog gets full, there's more paper coming into our office, and we have to deal with it. And we're already running behind. Current staffing has been outpaced by caseload increases. The civil caseload has more than doubled since 1995. The criminal caseload is up by 50% since then. 2005, the civil caseload was up 16% over 2004. 2005, the criminal caseload was up 13% over 2004. Docket entries have increased 125% since 10 years ago. Here are some numbers that I know will just bore you. But, I've got a copy of this, which I'll pass out, but you can take a look at after this is all done at your leisure. But, you know, basically you're saying civil increases 108% since then. Foreclosures, I would add, this is it's an increasing problem for the county. It's an increasing problem for us. 268%, they're up since 1995. Judgments against people are up 43%. People are living, they're using credit cards just to exist. Some very good books I could recommend you to read just to understand what your constituents are going through. It's hell, and they end up in our office when everything doesn't go right. Back in the early 70s, they tell me now that a middle-class family in the 70s with one wage earner had more discretionary income than same middle-class family in this 2000, in this century, this millennium, with two incomes. And when one of those incomes gets sick, has a problem, gets phased out, gets downsized, or whatever, there's a crisis, and we end up with them. The new judgeship will create the need for two or more new deputy clerks. Lorain County Drug Task Force, on which you folks have contributed to that, and I congratulate you on the great work that they've been doing, but they create record numbers of indictments, arraignments, and trials, all of which takes time on our part and money. And the new trend in civil cases is to sue everybody in sight. They don't sue the one doctor, they sue every doctor that you consulted with, and the nurses, and I think the janitors sometimes. And all of that means extra work for us. Finally, there's a Supreme Court decision this year that mandates the resentencing some 3,000 criminal cases, which will create another backload, and I'm sure Mr. Ennis can tell you of other things that goes on the horizon that are going to create more headaches for us. The clerk's office has worked hard to generate revenues for the general fund. We've had a collection department we established, and it's met with great success. We've had profits from the title division, as you're aware of that. I also have a title problem. We won't talk about that today. The County Commissioners Association, I think, is supporting my association in searching for a slight title fee increase because we simply can't make it on the amount of titles, on the title fees that we're now working with. In the title division, we've added passports. We've marketed them aggressively. We'll make $50,000 almost this year on passports, which has really helped the title fund. And we've taken on the load as a limited authority deputy registrar. So we're actually doing business, getting license plates for people, which is something we never did traditionally. The legislature made it possible for us to get into that. We've gotten into that, and it's helped keep the title fund afloat. I'm not here asking for title money today. I think we're going to scoop through the end of the year. Next year, I'll be back if we can't get the legislature to help us out. Collection Department added $1,100,000 in additional revenues since it was formed. See, 2000 to 2003, revenues, the fines and fees that we collected were $2.5 million. We made over $3.5 million after putting Kenny Burkhardt and a couple other part-time people working hard to collect old dues, and we're now working on with another firm, outside firm, to collect stuff that we can't collect. It's not green. Hopefully there'll be more money there. And those transfers that I talked about between 93, which is when the last time the title fees were increased, and 2002, which is the last time I gave you money, I know at least one of the commissioners yelled at me and said, "You don't give us money like Ralph there used to." Well, I'd love to, but
sorry, Ron.
We had the money when it was there. We've given you $1,400,000. Many counties did not give the money to the general fund. They sat on it. And right now, they're in good shape. They're spending this money is what they're existing on. So we're happy to give it to you, particularly if you need it. But you got to realize that in the long run, it's to keep that title office open. Anyway, we've given you $1,400,000. If I ask for money back, it's just a little bit. And finally, case deposit money that's held in trust is invested to benefit the general fund. 2004, we made $44,000 for the general fund, $91,000 in 2005, and 2006, we will make over $200,000 this year. We really poked that, worked hard to increase the income that we're getting from interest earned on inactive and interim funds. So, our payroll account requires $77,500, the payroll account and the PERS account together. Available alternatives will cripple the court. Over 1,000 specific mandates by the Ohio Revised Code won't go away. They're only going to increase. The clerk of courts has made and continues to make major contributions to the general fund revenues. Well, that's the formal presentation, and I'll give you copies later. Now I can answer any questions you might have.
Ronnie, what are we looking at? You're a former county commissioner. You're in the same position. You understand where we're sitting at, watching the dollars and cents. It's our job. But where do you look at the title fees going to? I mean, what's the state legislature saying is going to improve that?
You know, title fees, it's a great question. In this state, they're really low. People don't know that. But for the 50 states, we're in the bottom four or five. And we have immediate service. If you come in, you get a title, you walk out with a title. In most states, you wait 6 weeks, 8 weeks. So really, it's a good service. We've met with the legislative leaders about the possibility of doing something in the lame duck session, and that is a definite possibility. I think I looked at $3 or $4 a title, plus a couple dollars on a memorandum, plus I think $1 on a notary signature or something. That's the kind of increases we're talking about. None of them are substantial. You won't get a phone call about any of them from anybody. Something that you set the fees. When you set the fees for something like that, you set it based on the salaries you're paying people now. Every year, people get raises, et cetera. Healthcare goes up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And sooner or later, you're going to be in trouble. So you're going to have to revisit this about every 10 years. Legislature doesn't like that. That's why they get the big bucks, I guess.
No, that's what I'm hoping. I mean, as you talked about the healthcare, I hope we're going to address that this morning. Jim sent around some stuff we've been working on, I guess. But yeah, we understand the need for it. It's just that in my talking, is it going to be a have to for next year? You know, we're declining operating expenses. Is it going to be I have to have the 2 other deputies and be able to live with one you've got? Because there are 5 courts and full caseload. Is it going to be able to split up with the new 6th judge among the current amount of employees?
You know, we're going to do what we can as we can, and we'll be in touch. At the point, I mean, I'm not planning to go out and hire anybody today.
Thank you.
But we will have, I'm telling you, I'm going to have to hire somebody. As much as we can, we do some part-time work with people bring people in just to do peaking stuff. We do everything we can to avoid putting anybody on the payroll full-time.
Do you have much peak? You don't have peak season there. I mean, it's constant 365 days a year. You don't have peaks,
There's no
do you?
peak, no peak in the criminal justice system except when the drug task force gets busy. And the criminal side. The civil side, it's for us, it's heavy all the time. I mean, foreclosures, most of our civil work is foreclosures, and that just keeps getting heavier and heavier. I'd hope that the new bill passed by the state legislature last year would help a little bit. Maybe it has, but it hasn't shown up at our end yet. The Congress has the ultimate key. Most of the banks that do these things are national banks, and they have affiliates which make subprime loans, they call them. They are controlled by the federal government. They are under the National Bank Act of 1870 gives the feds the power. They have supreme power. The banking committee in both the House and the Senate are very bipartisan committees. They're not very partisan because they both take a ton of money from the lobbyists. And the lobbyists have their say. I mean, our laws, the bankruptcy bill last year was a bad bill. It solved the bankruptcy problem for a while, but it didn't help us at foreclosures a bit. And it's not going to help people who really need help. I'm hopeful the new legislature will look differently at these problems.
I'm done with questions, Commissioner.
I have one. It sounds like your payroll problem started in 2003,
No,
according to the chart that you
Problem?
showed. I mean, the fact that you under budget in your payroll line items. How were you in 2002?
I really can't tell you. I'm sorry. I don't think this. I didn't start at 2-3 because the problem started there. I just went back 3 or 4 years for.
Oh, so you
How long
don't. You were okay. You don't know if you were okay in 2002.
I really don't know. I think we were all right. Or we might have come to you and asked for more money at the end of the year. I mean, that seems to be the pattern.
Well, 02 is when we got the $175,000, so you should have been okay if you transferred $175 to the general fund.
Yeah, we had money, so maybe.
Right.
But it's not the money. It's appropriation. I mean,
Right.
yeah. The title fund was fine. Title fund is fine with appropriation. Its only problem is cash. General fund has the appropriation problem. What was that? The second page, third page. 1 second. Yeah, we didn't hit $1 million in the amount requested until 2004, and I remember it's about $950 for 2003, and I think we had enough appropriation.
Were there any additions to the payroll as far as hiring from 2002 to 2003 that caused this problem?
No. No. I had added a trainer back in 2000, I think, Mr. Tracus. And he was with us for about 3 years, and then we didn't replace. Actually, he was replaced, but his replacement left, and we didn't fill that position.
What about your other line items? Is there any monies in other line items that you can appropriate to?
We scraped all of our line items clean. When you appropriated the money this year, you gave us $20,000 we didn't ask for and didn't need, and supplies or something, or computer or something or other. We put that in the personnel, in the payroll account. There was a $10,000 account for, we had a CPA working in our office on some problems early on in 2002, but we don't have that anymore. You gave us money for that for some reason or other in 2005, we gave that back. We've scraped everything we can.
Betty, do you have any questions?
Well, just a comment. With respect to the new judge coming on board, Judge Glavis has been serving as a visiting judge, and does he not have staff that come with him in your court, so to speak, to take care of the paperwork?
Basically, Judge Glavis has been doing some trial work and it's been kind of specialized stuff they've been giving him. It hasn't created a lot of paperwork in many areas. I mean, this is fairly limited to what he does. And I'm not sure, until they get this backlog clear, how much they're going to stop using Judge Glavis. And again, I have no expertise on that, and I don't know. Just tell you that the courts here, they're randomly selected for cases in any number of areas, and Judge Glavis's selection has been narrow. It's been limited to trials that are going to take more than a week. Generally, longer term, more than a few days. Well,
Any other comments or questions?
If we give it to you this year, we're not going to have it for next year.
Pardon?
If we give it to you this year, we're not going to have it for next year.
Well, I can't tell you that I'm going to get rid of any people, and that's the cost of my business. So.
Well, and we understand that, but we're going to have some tough decisions to make starting January 1st.
Motion is an advance of $77,500 to the clerk of courts to continue through the end of the year.
Making a motion?
Yeah.
Any stipulation about that money?
Just as an advance, we'll take it back with next year's appropriations.
That's
Is
what
that
we
part
did
of your
last, that's what
motion?
we did
We did
this
last
year,
year, and you
right?
paid
We
it
gave
back.
you the advance last year,
you
and then we
paid it
took
back
it
this
back,
year.
and then we gave it back
I
this year?
had no discussion along those lines with anybody.
It did, it came back, we had the budget go through it. After your accounts it came back.
So, he really didn't get an advance last year. It was kind of a wash then.
Right. But with the increased cost. So, I don't know
Mr.
what
Cortez, did Lisa give any light on this matter?
Actually, I was giving an instruction to her to complete the paperwork so we can get it done as soon as you guys pass a resolution, so we can clean it up today. Didn't mean to interrupt you,
That's fine.
apologize.
I thought maybe our budget director had some great knowledge for us on this matter, so.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Can I clarify that we are going to take this money back next year then?
Correct, it is an advance.
Okay.
This is not
Aye.
money.
Pardon me?
This is not money. This is appropriation. But
Right.
thank you.
We repay back the appropriation like we did last year.
Okay.
Thanks, Ronnie. Thanks, Kenny. Nice job.
Madam Chair, there's just a comment. We've all received a request from Judge Horvath that his appropriations are deficient in the amount of $10,300, according to Budget Director this morning. Would you like to schedule Judge Horvath for next board meeting? Is that agreeable?
That'll be fine.
Works for me.
And Teresa, would you contact the judge, ask him to come see us next week?
Okay. Resolution. Resolutions number 1, Job and Family Services bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Advances and repayments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Commissioners, I would like to request an executive session at the conclusion of our regular board meeting today. I have a number of personnel issues dealing with the county home, Job and Family Services. We also have our consultant coming in to talk about ongoing labor negotiations. We have open contracts, and we need to develop some strategies for how to deal with those by year end. I want to update you on a potential purchase of real estate. And I have one update on a pending matter of litigation I need to share with you. All permissible subjects under the Sunshine Law. Thank you.
Betty, doesn't look like we're going outside today.
Adopt and establish Lorain County healthcare rates / contribution shares for non-bargaining unit employees for the year 2007.
Mr. Cortez, do you want to bring us up to speed on this as far as what the rates are going to be? Explain to everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, we've been struggling with this issue off and on for a couple of years. As everybody knows, the general fund is going to be ailing next year, and we're taking aggressive steps to make up on some of those shortfalls that we anticipate having. For the last few years, we've been locked into a rate structure on partnering with the employees on the premium that have resulted in the employees paying the same amount for premium as they paid in 1989. And back then, the plan cost about $275 a month, and the employees contributed about $35 towards their family plan on the health care. It's 2006, and right now it costs $1,130, give or take a buck here or there, for that same plan, and the employees are still paying $35 a month. I'm no economic genius, but there seems to be quite an imbalance there. And while I know that we need to provide good benefits to our employees, I think that we need to have a better partnership on how we share those costs. So I have recommended to you today that we establish a rate structure. I've talked to each one of you commissioners individually over time, especially in the last couple months since I've been working on the contracts for health care on what you wanted to do. It appeared to me that there was a general consensus among the group that we should establish the premium at about a 10% level as a partnership with the employees and have them contribute to a greater share of what the cost of that insurance was. What I presented you with was that 10% on Plan A, we're calling now, which is the old plan. And in order to mitigate some of the cost, we established a Plan B, and I'll explain Plan B. Plan B is the same medical as we have right now, but it's a different drug, prescription drug alternative for the employees that will increase co-pays at the point of service for the prescription drugs, but will be at a lower cost. I need to explain that the new plan is a little bit more restrictive. Right now, under the old plan, we pay $5 for generics and $10 for brands. Under the new plan, that's voluntary for the employees. By the way, they can select which one they want to be in. It'll be $10 for generics, $20 for brand, and $35 for the selection of a brand drug when a generic alternative is available. Now, that $35 is what you pay, and then you pay the difference between the generic and the brand if you choose to have the brand. That's to incentivize members that are in that plan to select a generic or what we call a MAC alternative. And we save money as the plan administrators, and the employees save money, so it's a good partnership. It's an open formulary, so there's no restriction of drugs on it. But we do have what I want to call a mandatory generic substitution because of the price structure on a 3-tier. The other structural change is that the mail order, which is currently free, and this is where we're getting crushed, will go to a 10, 20, 35. Now, the good thing about still using mail order is when you use the 10, 20, 35, you actually get 3 dispensings. You get a 90-day supply for what it would cost for one dispensing retail over the counter. So it's still a pretty good deal for everybody to use, but it's not free like it has been in the past. Now, I need to stress that the employees are free to choose which plan they're in. We haven't made it mandatory, and that's something we can discuss here, for employees to go into that plan. I'm hoping that the cost difference between this plan and our existing plan will incentivize them to go into that new alternative. Now, we're dealing with just non-bargaining unit employees here that we pay for health insurance on. We have 20 labor contracts here in Lorain County, and it usually follows about a 3-year cycle. And we're beginning the cycle here in December with about half a dozen contracts to start setting the tempo with our bargaining units. I don't anticipate having a full maturity in the new plan for a couple of years because some of the older labor contracts, and I really shouldn't say older, they're actually newer because they were late in the cycle, will not allow us to structurally change that drug program and even to offer it to their employees. Nor, if we offered it, would they take it because they're locked in at $35 a month for a family plan. And I think it's $5 a month for the single plan, and there's no incentive for them to move to the newer plan. So we have quite a balancing act to do as we structurally change these plans. I know Commissioner Kalo has a number of questions. I have some data here. At this point, maybe it would be just easier if we went to, if you want to have a little question and answer, and then I can give you some more information on this.
All right, well, you want to start, Commissioner? You had questions that Jim had told me about. You want to start first?
Well, not really a question, just the fact that when Jim brought this to me, and the first thing I wanted to do was to see what other jurisdictions in the county were paying for their health insurance. With this new plan, it'll go from $35 a month for a family plan to $108 a month. So, yes, $108 a month, which is an increase of $36.50 per pay. The city of Avon, for example, for a family plan is $223 a month. Am I allowed to give these numbers out? It's public record, right?
Yes.
Sheffield Village is $154 a month. City of Elyria is $146 a month. The Lorain Port Authority is $116 a month. City of Lorain is $40 a month. And I just want to say with this plan, as I was in the City of Lorain on City Council, we tried to implement something like this too. And at that time I opted to pay $50 a month for my health care premium. And at that time I was only being paid about $123 a month. So I was basically taking a 50% pay cut. So I know that the people on the lower income levels is going to be hit the hardest, and I know that because I felt it myself. But I did want to just bring up the point that, we have to live in the real world, and just because you work in the county, you're not going to, you're not living in a glass bubble. We have to be on an even keel with the rest of the people in Lorain County. So I just wanted to let you know that we did our homework and we're trying to do the right thing here, but we do have to make it equitable. Thank you.
Well, just my question is being, Jim, you said we were going to do what, approximately 51,000 prescriptions? Is that the actuary came up with when we did our numbers?
Well, yeah, actually, we can pull it off the reports. We anticipate doing 51,000 plus on the number of prescriptions dispensed this year through the plan.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know in the private sector, and I've talked to some guys, I spoke with Brian Baker about what the cap was. Now they're paying almost $6 an hour towards their health care every hour they work. And I didn't have Commissioner Kowski's numbers, but, I mean, my employees in the private sector and most small businesses, their employees pay anywhere from, 50% to 100% of their health care. My employees pay 50%. and I know where our increase has been anywhere from 18 to 22% the last 3 years. Well, thank you. So, I see, definitely, as Commissioner Kukowski said, to the lower end of our pay scale, I think this will be a burden to a degree, but the health care benefits that are provided with the job, I think, are exemplary. And in comparing us with all the other municipalities and villages, I just see it's something the county has to do to try and balance our books for next year. As everybody knows, declining revenue, we lost $3.5 million in LGF money. You just heard our clerk of courts talk about his shortfall in his payroll accounts. We got a lot of tough decisions for next year. So, but I see this being very equitable. And they have the second choice of the plan, Jim, to take with the prescription cost down. It's only $84 a month then.
Can I give you a few more facts?
Sure.
When we have, I know within the next 3 years that we're going to have full enrollment in the new prescription drug program, because that's the direction we're going to head into. Now, it's going to be a voluntary direction, but we're going to incentivize people to move. At the end of the 3 years, I anticipate that that's probably the only plan we're going to have. Right now, we had all our employees enroll in that plan. We would see a net savings of about $700,000 a year in the prescription drug program. What the board has generously done when we talked about this and setting these rates, when I spoke to each one of you, we passed a lot of that savings back on to the employees so that they would enroll in that plan. That was a partnership too. About 50% of the savings is going right back to the employees, and they're going to, while they'll initially pay a little bit more for scripts, they're paying less for the premium, so it just balances out. $600,000–700,000 a year is a huge number. Also, when we set these rates on the insurance, let me say this. We made some structural changes to the health care plan last year, and we wrestled with some issues with our supporters in labor over those structural changes. And we did something this year that hasn't been done anywhere that I know of lately. We actually saw a net reduction in our overall cost of our health care this year. We have been running to the general fund, and I'll use general fund numbers first. We have been running about $500,000 a year in increases to the general fund consistently for the last few years. This year, we don't have an increase to the general fund. In fact, we're going to have a decrease to the general fund because of what we did over the last 18 months. Those structural changes to the health care were invisible to 99.5% of the people that were in the plan. And we saw a net savings for our rates going into next year of $140,000. So we had a net decrease of $140,000. So we didn't need the $500,000, and in fact we're going to pay $140,000 less for the health care next year based upon current rates right now. With the rate structure that we're putting into place and partnering a little differently with our employees, we're going to see a net reduction of $490,000 savings, and that's on top of the $138,000 of decreased costs that we have going in. So that results, to me, in significant savings. Now, if we had trended the health care at 12%, I think, which is a responsible trend that we're seeing in health care increases in Ohio, based upon the decrease that we saw this year from the structural changes, and if I apply the 12% to what our experience is for just the medical alone, that's a net shift of about $1.3 million in health care costs. So we didn't see the increases this year. We saw a decrease, and if you add that all together with the board's leadership, you have a change of about $1.3 million. Those are just general fund numbers that affect us. Now, we're also targeting, and I've been in deep discussions and negotiations with our TPAs, we're also targeting $300,000 to $400,000 in changes on our administrative end of our experience. I'm happy to say that I'm over the $300,000 mark with those negotiations. As Commissioner Kalo knows, I targeted at $500,000. I'm trying to get close to that number. I'm gaining the advantage on that number, but I should bring you back a contract that'll show us about $300,000 to $400,000 on that. Now, we're getting 45% discount on our relationship with MMO. I now have them up to 54% discount. We're paying what amounts to, with our split, about a $55 administrative fee per family. I now have them down to $40 a month on that from $55. And I'm working on our reinsurance, trying to ratchet down our reinsurances and get some margin there too, to save. So while there may be some discontentment with the employees looking at these rates, I mean, we are aggressively working here to bring these things down.
Well,
And
Jim, I took these rates and I broke them down. If you take our Plan B, your family medical with everything, vision, dental, everything, is $2.78 per day. That's what the employees have to pay for a family plan. So, I mean, this is not
With the new
monumental
rate?
dollars.
You mean?
Yeah, the
Oh.
new rate. It's $2.78 per day.
It's $18.50 a pay, which is,
Well, once again, we could have been, if the board had not taken some directional changes early last year, and I don't want to really bring up the specific issue of those directional changes, but I think you're all quite aware, we wrestled with some issues that were near and dear to some folks' heart, but didn't really affect that many people
very
in the
few
plan.
people.
Right. That was $1.2 million. We actually are showing a $1.2 million savings.
Can we say what that was?
I really don't want to go into the specifics, but it's a $1.2 million shift. And you guys took those actions, and you took a lot of grief from certain segments of our employment base over that. But, you know, we were able, that's $1.2 million that had come from somewhere if we had not made those structural changes. And we're making some minor structural changes now. I also need to point out that we have a premium-only pass-through plan for the employees. We put that into place in the early 90s before we had the cafeteria plan. Most of our employees will see a savings of 15 to 20% on pre-tax in that premium. So if the cost of their sharing is $100 a month, they're actually paying probably around $80 a month because it's pre-taxed. So let's not forget the advantage that the employees are gaining by pre-taxing that premium. So their net, you know, we look at the net outcome, the net result. It's not significantly lower, but 20% is probably the target that you can say off these rates that the employees will end up saving by putting it through the premium only. I also want to point out that for a number of years, we were one of the first counties that put a cafeteria plan into place when we put the flexible spending accounts into place for the employees. We have tried for years to educate the employees to the benefits of those, to that flexible spending accounts. If the employees manage their health care and they put money aside in the flexible spending accounts for their deductibles on prescription drugs and medical, they will get the additional advantage of saving that 15 to 20% of those out-of-pocket costs. Structural law changes from the IRS that occurred 2 years ago now allow a bigger window of opportunity for spending those dollars. Before, we were operating under the use it or lose it rule that said if you didn't spend the money by the end of December of each year, or at least you didn't engage in a service that was eligible, you lost that money. It didn't return back to you. 2 years ago, the IRS extended the law to give you another 90 days into the following year to be able to access a service and use that money, which lengthening that period gave people a better ability to balance and budget and to get that money back out of their accounts without losing it. In addition, another huge structural change that occurred with the IRS was the ability to use OTC. Over-the-counter drugs were now eligible for reimbursement under the flexible spending accounts. That's Vicks, NyQuil, and aspirins and things like that. We still don't have a lot of engagement from our employees, and I don't understand why, because we've put out material, we've done training on this. This is something that they're going to have to do. They're going to have to start being smarter about how they look at these things and how they put that money aside so that they can receive those savings and those plans. So this board has put all those structures into place to aid with these cost increase. So again, I think that this is a fair and equitable solution. I think it closes some of the gaps on our revenue issues for next year. We need to do this. And the last piece of information is the second plan, you priced at 8%, not 10%. The A's at 10%, the second plan's at 8%, so that the employees are incentivized to go there. But this is going to be a moving target over the next couple of years, and it's going to be something that we aggressively take a stand at the bargaining unit table with. You guys have spoken to me directly on this, and you've made that quite clear to me. And so I need to say that right here, that this is going to be something that we're going to be watching over the next couple of years very closely, and we're going to need increased partnership. If you have any further questions, I can certainly answer them for you. But I think this is the direction we need to go in.
I don't have any questions, but I have a comment. I think this is a proactive approach by this board, and I want to commend Mr. Cordes. In 1991, when I arrived, I know that was a little while ago, but our health care plan was $2 million in the red. We had a list, and that's how our health care costs were being paid by the employees. And if you didn't come to the top of the list, your cost wasn't being paid. And that was a terrible way to run the county employees' health care plan. So I think we've been very proactive, and I want to applaud my fellow commissioners and the county administrator for the approach that we've taken on this issue.
I guess I have just one question. What about the other departments, elected officials, like auditor, engineer?
I would have to get two sets of glasses, one I can see with and one I can read with. Now, at least I can see now where I'm looking.
We do have those covered in our health care plan.
Not for long, no.
Hurry up.
You, for the general fund, you pay for all the health care costs for the general fund employee out of a pool. We saw a nice presentation by Corporate Courts Nabokowski this morning, but he doesn't have a full absorption cost. A lot of things for these departments, corporate courts, treasurer, auditor, you pay for, so you don't see a full absorption cost in their budget. So you decide what's going to be paid on that health care. They're not allocated funding for those benefits. You pay for the health care and life insurance and things like that out of a benefits pool for the general fund. So that's your control. Now, all your revenue accounts. Was that Alex Parker?
That was Alex Parker. John Cole's calling.
Our friend from the Journal.
Got to go now.
Sorry. As far as some of the revenue departments go, the revenue departments that are under your jurisdiction, such as Golden Acres, Bascule Bridge, 911, and there's a little bit of a lengthy list, you set the health care rates for. There's a few general fund departments that are in the health care that the rates are set. I see County Engineer Ken Carney here, and he has his own funding, and he decides what he will pay for his employees because they don't come out of the general fund pool. We do have entities that are enrolled in our health care, and maybe for clarification, since we're dialoguing so much in this, I'll go into a teeny explanation on that. We have a consortium with other political subdivisions around the county. We have I would say almost all the townships, most of the villages, and some of the smaller cities that contract with us for health care. It's a great advantage to them because once we manage the plan, they don't have to have consultants, they don't have to do RFPs, they don't have to do negotiations. So long as we comply with, under the law, with all the requirements of the Ohio Revised Code, they can just participate and they don't have to do anything. It's been a great deal for them, and I think they're going to be really, really pleased this year that they're actually going to see a reduction in their cost. You know, it's unfortunate that we're restructuring what's going on with our employees right now because I don't want to lose, you know, that point that we have seen a reduction based upon the things you did last year. We're just spreading the cost out a little bit differently. So I think that you're going to see that they're going to be very happy to be in the health care plan. And we actually picked up NOACA from out of Cuyahoga County in Cleveland area that came to Lorain and joined our plan. So people are still looking at it as a very cost-effective approach to providing services and benefits to their employees. So yes, I would say you said about, within county government, you probably said about 70% of the rate structure, and the other 30% is independent of us. Children's Service would be independent with us, and I must tell you already, Children's Service is already at the 10% level. They did this in the last negotiations with their employees, so they were a bit ahead of the power curve on dealing with this issue. I think about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, if not longer. There's a couple isolated boards that are governing boards that you don't decide that, but there's not that many.
Okay.
Good.
Any other questions, comments? Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
And the reason why we don't have a lot of time to contemplate on this is because AFLAC has to come in and do all the pre-tax information on all the employees.
Yeah, we're going to have some employee informational meetings, I believe, on Tuesday with the payroll folks. AFLAC is going to begin the enrollment. We were struggling with negotiating the healthcare contracts, trying to find the savings and putting this plan together, and we've been pretty busy with it. So I think we'll be fine though. We'll get everything done by year end, and we'll capture what we need to do to move forward. I really appreciate the Commissioner's support, and I appreciate the taking these challenges and making these structural changes. Sometimes it's easier just to let this stuff lay. I mean, we're healthy right now. We got a couple $1 million in our reserves and in our cash account. We run our health care very aggressively, and we make sure that we have enough money to take the peaks and valleys out of it. But we could have sat and you could have sat and did nothing until we were back to like 1991, and I do appreciate the support to dealing with these issues. Thank you, Commissioners.
Under Community Development Department, approve and enter into contract with Lorain County Urban League as a provider for fair housing services in compliance with CDBG FY06 in the amount of $10,800, effective retroactive to September 1st through August 31st, 2007.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Authorize transfer and appropriation of payment in the amount of $5,000 in Lorain County, the cost of salaries for administering the CDBG ED project in the city of North Ridgeville, further known as the Walgreen.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Authorize transfer, appropriation, and payment in the amount of $36,131 to Lorain County, the cost of salaries for operating the CDBG FY03 Small Cities Formula Grant through Ohio Department of Development.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under EMA Homeland Security, authorized transfer, appropriation, and payment in the amount of $216,607.04 to Lorain County, the cost of salaries for operating the emergency management and the Homeland Security through the Emergency Managed Performance Grant, Department of Homeland Security.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Under Job and Families, instruct the clerk to advertise for requests for proposals for community art program. Notice to be published in the Morning Journal on November 13th and 20th, and to be open at 2:30 on November 27th, Commissioners' Public Hearing Room.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Sanitary Engineer, award contract to R.A. Boros Excavating, Inc., Monroeville, Ohio, in the amount of $87,985 for the Clearview Water Main Replacement Project. 7 bids were received, this being the most responsive, complying with specifications, and is 24.68% below the engineer's estimate of $117,097. Issue notice to proceed letter on or before November 30th, and to be completed on or before May 30th, 2007. Authorize the county administrator to notify the county auditor to release retainage at completion of said project. And this project is being funded by 89% by OPWC and 11% by Larry Township.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
It's my turn again?
Oh, boy.
Keep it short.
I'm just so blue this morning. What can I tell you? Oh, excuse me. Before I start, my congratulations to Commissioner Blair. Hopefully, you're very happy today in your first meeting after your successful victory on Tuesday. I know how hard you work. I know how much value you deliver to this county. I know how much you care about what you do, and I'm honored to work for you, and I'm pleased that you won re-election. Would you pass this to the clerk, please? I need her to amend this resolution, and I'll explain it to you. Madam Clerk, would you just read the amendment down at below, and then I'll explain to the board what that is?
Amendment Resolution 06-683 on September 7th as follows. Schwimmer Construction, Item B, 3rd Street Parking Lot, $114,500. And then Item C, Lake Erie Electric, 3rd Street Parking Lot, $63,922.
Commissioners, I'm still not able to get this work paid for. This is the notorious parking lot on 3rd Street across from the Justice Center. We've had significant difficulties getting cooperation on the second floor, and last week, in order to get these vendors paid because they were lining up with picket signs, I instructed our folks to move into our capital appropriations accounts, get it paid there, and then we'll get it back later on from the appropriate accounts. I thought I resolved the problem, and I turned around, and they wouldn't pay it on the second floor because I had the resolution didn't say to pay it from specific to XYZ.XYZ whatever. All right, I'm getting extremely frustrated trying to get things done around here. So I need to amend that resolution so I can get these vendors paid. This saga has been going on for way too long, and we need to address this. But today, I need to get that so I can get this releasing of these payments to these people who have been waiting way too long for work that's already been performed. You already know what the issue is. I've been talking to all of you now for a while. I've lost the ability to be able to reasonably deal with this issue. So.
Well, we got a legal opinion from Dennis Will's office stating that this needs to be paid out of these accounts, correct?
I guess without sounding kind of flippant, so.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know what to do anymore, and that's now I got to get another resolution changed, and these people still haven't been paid. I do have a legal ruling. I do have a ruling from
Calabrese also.
our bond counselors that deal with our fiscal issues, supported further by some letters from the prosecutor's office, and I think we're going to need additional resources there. But this is really getting pretty ridiculous. So hopefully this will get these people paid, but that money still needs to come from our Justice Center funds back into the to the general fund. And I have a number of issues that I need to deal with the new judges coming in, and some structural changes in the Justice Center. I don't want to get caught up in this this argument any further, because it's just going to make us look pretty inefficient and pretty silly here in Lorain County that we can't get our bills paid on time, and because people won't cooperate with what we've been told is the right way the work should be done.
Well, anything that's supposed to be with the Justice Center comes out of the Justice Fund monies that you borrowed back in 2002.
If
so
At
difficult about getting
50%.
that paid.
if it's a reasonable expense that deals with the furtherance of the project, we're able to pay for it out of that money. You know, and I must say that money exists for the most part because of the great work we did on putting the Justice Center up. We just put in a whole new courtroom at no additional cost to the taxpayers, and that courtroom was put in because we worked really hard on the Justice Center to save money, and we were able to retain quite a bit of the money from that savings into the accounts to further that project. The additional parking lot that went in was from savings from the management of that project. And the list goes on and on. The new parking lot behind the Justice Center we put in a year and a half ago, we saved money for that out of the project. We didn't borrow money for that parking lot. All right,
And it was paid for from the fund that you're talking
yes,
about.
it was. We saved $5 million on the Justice Center during the scope of the project. And this was goals and objectives that we established and we aggressively managed. And then we aggressively managed the problems that we had, and we received payments there. And so that is, we've extended the value to the taxpayers significantly. Otherwise, we would have had to go back to them and ask for additional borrowing to be able to put in a huge parking lot, another courtroom on a build-out, a smaller parking lot across the street. And we still haven't dealt with the green space across the street. And the list goes on. And now with the new judges coming in, they want to do some swapping of courtrooms. They'll need some additional furniture issues and things like that. I just don't want to get in this squabble anymore. I'm tired, Commissioners. I'm tired of dealing with the arguing over this. We need to get this cleared up so we can move on effectively and deal with bigger issues.
Well, isn't good government where the Commissioners do everything legal and proper, pass a resolution, and the auditor is to pay it?
I'll have to defer to counsel on that, but I think that's the way it's supposed to work.
Is that the simplest form of our government, Mr. Ennis?
Yes, Commissioner. My understanding, I haven't seen that, but my understanding there's some objection regarding the technical verbiage in the language. But
Well, don't we have our bond counsel and our county prosecutor agreeing with the purpose of the funds?
right, but my understanding is right now that the rejection is not on the basis of it's being taken from an improper fund, but that the resolution didn't appropriately direct the auditor to pay.
But had it been paid from the fund that we requested in the first place, we wouldn't even be dealing with this legislation.
Well, that's correct, Commissioner.
So let's go back to the first issue, and let's pay for it out of the fund that we requested it be paid for in the first place. Tear that up.
Well, I think we've already paid it out of the general fund, haven't we?
We haven't paid for it for anywhere because, you're right, there was a small technicality in the new resolution that didn't allow us to do that. As far as I'm concerned, Commissioner Blair is 100% accurate. Let's get back to where we're supposed to be. Let's just do it and let's move on. I don't know. I can only tell you how much mental exhaustion's gone into trying to get a couple of these bills paid. This becomes a who is going to decide what funding pool it comes out of and where it goes and how it's administered. My understanding, it's this Board of Commissioners that does that.
And I believe you agreed with that opinion, Jerry, that it was our decision to make?
That's correct, Commissioner.
Okay, then
But I
what's,
believe, didn't we already pay it?
No, Jerry, because what happened was
Okay.
last week's resolution it probably didn't have a period somewhere in it or a dot on an I, and it came back. You know, I remember getting something back up here because, what was it like? It was a 1 cent error in something, Commissioner Kalo?
Yeah, we had a travel issue for a couple of pennies.
Okay.
4 cents, I think it was.
So,
Tony would have the numbers.
you know, look, Commissioners, I don't want to start any more skirmishes than we need to, but I need to get some help in getting this stuff done, because I got bigger things to do for you besides arguing over this piddly stuff.
so Jerry, do
Want
you
to bring
have,
up the mailings while we're at it?
you have a suggestion to
Might
us
as well,
how-
Commissioner, might as well.
How we
No.
would proceed to get this bill appropriately paid?
Well,
I
I
believe
guess I
that-
need to see what's been rejected, because I got a previous letter this week which gave me the impression that we had paid for these services out of the general fund, and now we were going to.
No, he's rejecting this. I want to tear this up and go back to square one. We have requested originally that this be paid out of the Justice
Center Q
Center
account.
Q account.
Okay,
So
and
then
our
the only
office
thing-
has ruled that that's appropriate.
And so let's do that. Just tear this up, okay?
So
If we're
then the
gonna-
only thing that should say in this resolution that was adopted September 2nd is basically authorized payment to be paid.
Yeah, see, you got a good
Correct.
resolution, but it doesn't say "and pay." Now, I don't know why we would do it and not pay, okay? But you know, but then, you know, I'm
Right.
not the
But
brightest guy.
purchase
I'm not the
order
brightest
has
guy in the
already
world.
been
What can I
approved
tell
for
you?
these accounts.
I know that, Ms. Newton. Thank you from our purchasing director from the
Thank
Cowie.
you for reiterating the
Thank you.
fact that we are
Co-
correct.
Come to the podium and make that statement, please.
Like, again, the resolution should say authorized payment rather than award contract.
Yes, we do purchase orders
And
all
your
the
name
time.
is?
Yvonne Newton,
Thank
Purchasing
you,
Director.
Yvonne.
But we do purchase orders all the time, and, you know, once we do the purchase order, payments is right off of it. That would be like our resolution that you pass for requisitions, and we do purchase orders. Do I have to come back every time we make a payment off that purchase order to have authorization to pay it?
I think that was a
That would be
rhetorical
no.
question.
It is rhetorical. It is rhetorical, Commissioners. Thank you, Ms. Newton. I appreciate you
Thank
making
you.
that statement.
Jerry, I believe one of the assistant prosecutors has already spoken to the county auditor about this issue.
That's correct, Commissioner.
And what is our next step if we cannot get cooperation from the county auditor's office?
Well, I think that's something we should probably discuss in private as part of an executive session.
Thank you. I think we should do that then.
So we're going to see?
Okay,
We're going to
so,
hold this for right now, correct?
no,
No?
no.
Okay. So do I
Uh,
go back and just write authorized payment, or do you want this amended to take it?
Well, I think, first of all, I just want to get it paid. If this gets it paid, fine, but I think Commissioner Blair is completely accurate that we shouldn't have been at this point to begin with, and this is just another artificial barrier to getting work done around here. But if this will get it paid, we can go back and unravel it later. I would ask the board to make that change. Let's get these poor vendors paid, and then we'll tangle with the rest of the issue later on.
Can you reread the amendment?
We're just going to take from these two accounts. I'm not sure. What is the 102-6100 account?
Is that the Q account?
Capital.
It's
No.
not the Justice Center Q account then.
Okay.
Why general fund capital? I thought we were taking out of the Justice Center.
No, that's where we moved.
Lisa,
Get these
come to
people-
the podium, Lisa, please.
So then it's not in this account to do it.
We were originally wanting to take it out of the Q account for the Justice Center. We were unsuccessful in gaining the cooperation to do that, and then I directed it to be taken out of capital improvements under the general fund.
Correct. We put the transfers through, I believe, last week's board to cover for that.
Okay, and then we had they found a technicality they didn't like in the resolution, so now we have to modify it to take care of that, correct?
This is the first I've heard that there was a problem with the resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got this morning myself.
Okay.
That's why it was handwritten for the clerk. So money is available in the general fund construction accounts, and we can reimburse those accounts at a future date when we sort through this issue more fully. Would
Right.
you support that?
Yep.
This resolution will get our vendors paid who are out there
No.
waiting for their paychecks.
Well, it'll amend it right now, but then I also have to include, as long as it's going to say authorized payment, they'll pay it. But that's, I don't think the first one said that. It just awarded the contract, like we do all of them.
Okay, so we can amend that authorizing payment now, so we can get this done, our
That's
vendors
what
get
you
paid. It's
wish
been
to do.
2.5 months, they're waiting on their checks.
From the capital improvement account for Schrimmer in the amount of $114,500 for 3rd Street parking lot, and Lake Erie Construction in the amount of $63,922 for 3rd Street parking lot.
Correct.
So this will pay it, and then at a later time, we'll get it transferred back into the general fund from the Q account, from the Justice Center.
I would
That's
certainly
the
hope so.
Okay.
intent.
If you could add to be reimbursed, but you know what, if they don't move it, they don't move it, so we just need to get it paid. Well, yeah.
Okay. Did you make a motion already, Ted?
No?
No, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Anything further? Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Nay.
Did you say yay or nay?
I said nay, N-A-Y, nay as in no.
Not yay, huh?
Not I.
Okay.
Yes, I realized David was still on my report.
Yeah, geez.
I think you've reported enough, haven't you?
I have, and to answer your question, if you want to see the Sunshine Commissioner Blair, you need to catch it on the break, because we do have a number of issues that I'll remind you about in the executive session. Thank you. I appreciate your support.
Mr. and Assistant County Prosecutor.
I have no report.
Commissioners report.
Well, we got some good news for Lorain County. We were being awarded a grant for stormwater runoff training. This is part of the Ohio Environmental Education Fund, and all the various jurisdictions in Lorain County will benefit from the training. I want to thank Tony DeSenza, a good friend and colleague of mine, who spearheaded this project process with Dyla Shemek. And did you have a chance to get a hold of Dyla, Tony? Did you talk to Dyla?
Yeah, I'll just say one thing.
Okay. While he's coming up, he got Bill Holtzman involved from the engineer's office, and they all worked very hard and cooperatively to receive this money, and hopefully we're going to be getting it soon. And after you speak...
Hi, I'm Tony DeSenza. I just briefly want to say that it was Bill Holtzman and Ron Twining who did all the heavy lifting on this thing. Dyla Shemek, who's a former intern of mine and former alum from the College of Urban Affairs, approached me sometime last year about the possibility of the county applying for a grant with the state of Ohio, EPA, and a match from the College of Urban Affairs of Cleveland State University to do stormwater training, flood training, and pollution control. So if Ron and Bill want to come up and fill in the technical details.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tony.
Thank you.
Thanks for getting this all put together. So, and there's no match money involved in this either, so it's all...
Match money is coming from Cleveland State.
Right.
College of Urban Affairs.
Nothing from the county, so that's
The county is not paying any yet.
very good news. Bill, thanks
Hi,
for all your
Commissioners.
hard work in getting this all the information together for dialogue.
Okay. Yeah, this is something that, the Ohio EPA instituted this Phase 2 permitting process in a lot of the villages and townships in the county. And the part of that program is we have to have an outreach program to train the various municipalities of the requirements. We haven't done a lot of training, and this will certainly enable us to update a lot of the newly elected officials that really aren't even aware of the program and the requirements that they're obligated to meet. So hopefully within the next year, we'll have some good outreach programs and get everyone up to speed on what the Phase 2 permitting program is all about.
Okay, thanks, Bill. And Ron, are you part of the steering committee on this? Or did you get any information as to how much money the grant's going to give to Lorain County?
This is a rarity. No, I'm not, but Kristen
You're not?
Brandon is,
Oh,
so
okay.
she has the information, not I.
Okay, all right, thank you. Just the other part of my report, I just want to congratulate... Oh,
Yeah, I believe the grant amount's $39,270.
For Lorain
It'll
County.
be available for the training program, yes.
okay, thanks, Bill. So you got good news in Lorain County sometimes. And then just congratulations to all the winners in the election on Tuesday, and hopefully we'll turn things around in Lorain County and Ohio. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Yeah, congratulations, everybody, and especially our Board of Elections. They did a heck of a job. We didn't have near the problems some other counties had, so they did a very nice job. And again, nice to have you with us still, Commissioner. I enjoy having you here.
Thank you, Terry.
So, we did bring up, though, Commissioner Kukowski, because I talked to her earlier, what is happening with the dog mailing so we don't have the same issues? I know there's some discussion about funding that. Do we have any update or follow-up on that anywhere so we can get that going, especially with the new rates that we changed them to a month ago?
Blue.
It's blue. The light's blue.
So I just can't help myself right now. It's been a good week for all of us. I wish I had some positive updates. It's another issue we're getting no cooperation on. I have absolutely no traction on this issue whatsoever. It's another issue that I don't have the answers for you. I don't like not having answers, but
Do we know yet when those mailings will be going out to the citizens?
never.
Okay.
Well, the problem is the system, the dog licensing system is not updated, so they don't know who to send the mailings to, is my understanding. We agreed that we were going to pay for the mailings, make sure we get them out, and now the system is not updated, so they can't go out whether we give them the money or not.
Well, that's my understanding. I've been trying to resolve this now for about 3 months. I need the budget director to the podium again, please.
Lisa. Looks like I'm going to be down in the auditor's office inputting dog licenses again this year.
You've been involved with this with me for some time. So why don't you just take us through the last 2 or 3 months what we've been trying to do and how unsuccessful we have been.
As far as the dog licenses?
Well, the dog license, the fees, the appropriation.
Anything you want to tell us about it?
Okay. When I spoke to Craig Snodgrass downstairs, he had requested his additional appropriation to bring him up to the 15% of the dog kennel. And I explained to him that right now that money really wasn't there because we can't base it on revenues that we don't know for sure if we're going to get, so we couldn't increase the revenues to give him the additional appropriation. And within that conversation, I asked him what was going on with the mailers, and he said they most likely were not going to be going out because they don't have the manpower to keep the system up. The database supposedly has not been touched since July to enter any new dog tags that have been purchased.
Which means if a dog or somebody purchases a dog license after July and their dog is lost and they end up at the dog kennel, we don't have any record of that.
If the database, if it's not entered into the database, then, I mean, they would have it on paper. You know, if they have the number, they could probably look it up through the books.
If they have it in a good filing
Right.
system.
Right.
If not, then we'll have no idea whether people have a license or not.
Right.
And that adds a considerable amount of time because what we were doing was when the database was available, we would take periodic updates from the database out to the kennel, and we were able to rifle through those pretty quick when an animal came in. Then we would notify a pet owner that their animal had been brought to the kennel. It was pretty efficient that way. Well, the first thing we started doing was they weren't giving us any updates. So I sent some correspondence on behalf of the board that we needed those updates to provide for effective service for the community at the point of service out at the kennel. And thereafter, the database stopped being updated completely. So they were more than willing now to give us the updates on a deficient database that doesn't really produce us any results. Lisa has been up and down on this issue between the second floor for a number of months. And I need to also point out that the board did generously agree to increase the appropriation to the auditor's office on this to the full 15%, which is discretionary because it's not a mandated 15%. It's a discretionary funding on the board.
Up to 15%.
Up to 15%, which is a significant amount of money for 30,000 plus or minus a few thousand tags that we sell. And you have been unable to increase the appropriation because we don't have the ability to understand the revenue stream because we don't have the database. Can you amplify that a little bit for us?
Well, we don't want to take the chance on increasing the revenue estimate, thinking that even with the increase in the dog tag fees that we're going to be getting that extra money, because if we don't get it, then we have to cut appropriations somewhere, and chances are the appropriations are already going to be spent. So then we would be over-appropriated in that dog and kennel fund, which is not a good thing.
I'm glad you're the budget director and not me.
Thank you, Ted.
And the bottom line here, at the end of the day, commissioners, and specifically to Commissioner Kalo, your question is, the mailers should have went out a month ago, at least a month ago. Now
Well, I
you
received mine, that's why I was asking, because I tried to stay
They
out
normally-
of this issue as my other commissioners
They
know.
normally went out like around Thanksgiving is when they would
Oh, did
normally
they?
send them out.
well, we start selling tags on December 1st.
Right.
So I
they-
thought, well, normally I thought the mailers went out in September and October, started coming back in around,
It's, as far as I know, it's always been around Thanksgiving, because then they would have them for like a week before they could start
you know
getting
what,
their new tax.
I
December 1st.
retract that. Normally they went out to print in September, because we
Right.
would do the printing
Right.
appropriation. So I'm not actually aware, thank you, for when they actually hit the mail.
Right.
But in September, we usually send them to print, because they're a multi-copy type receipt, and that hasn't happened. They haven't gone out to print. We haven't done anything. And we have made several inquiries, because members of this board have asked us to look into that to try to get that done. By the way, you cannot send the mailers on your own. You talked about doing that.
Yeah.
You cannot do any of that without cooperation. The Ohio Revised Code specifically gives the ability to sell dog licenses and tags responsibility to the county auditor's office. Because you had asked me if we could do that
Just do it
absent.
on our own, yeah.
What's your pleasure, commissioners?
We're kind of held hostage here. We don't really have a choice in what we can do in this matter. We can't give him an appropriation if we don't know what the revenues are, because the system's not updated. And he's refusing to send the mailings because of what was the reason? Because he doesn't, but we said we would give him the funds.
Yes, you did.
I think that's the same issue that occurred last year, was it not?
Well, last year
No.
we didn't say we would give him the money.
This year, we said we would give him the money.
Well, yeah, you got that really frustrated look on your face, Commissioner, and you said, let's just get it done.
Yeah.
So I don't think you really wanted to, but you did it just so that we could get the service
Because we didn't
out
want
there.
to have the same problem we had last year,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
year. Because the only people that are suffering is the residents of Lorain County who own dogs.
That's the end of my report. Thanks for all the information.
It's a good thing.
Oh, whoa. What time did you bet on the meeting, Dan? Are you part of the
I-
pool our employees have out here?
Boy, I'm the last one to know everything. I
just
have
heard
no
10:42
report.
1042? Ooh, twining.
You're buying lunch today, huh, Ron? All right.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I have no report.
Oh, wow.
I said, I have no
You're
report.
going to say thank you to the citizens of Lorain County for bringing you back for 4 more years? We're still not sure if that's the right move, but the citizens of Lorain County are.
I'm very appreciative. I really am. Will you quit playing with that light? I'm not sure I am appreciative if I have to work with you guys. Jeez. Oh, my gosh. It's been a long week.
Yes, it is. Okay.
Just to let everybody know, we are off tomorrow
Hey,
in observance of Veterans Day, so
man.
board correspondence.
I move the reading be waived, and I'm not the president.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Public comment.
No public comment. I move we go into executive session as outlined by our administrator.
Second.
Wow. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Okay.
Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Unsightly litter is often the result of well-intentioned people like you and me being careless at the curb, around business areas, and at work sites. Lucky the Ladybug, Ohio's first lady of litter prevention, says nobody wants to live or work around trash. Litter lowers property values and it's costly to clean up.
Keep Lorain County beautiful. Put the lid on trash.
Hey, buddy, how you doing there? Here, have a treat, okay? No one can deny the loving devotion we get from our dogs, and I think we all agree we get back more love than we give them. I'm Dick Goddard. I'm reminding you, if you share your love with a dog, you'll never regret it. There's really nothing like a dog to spark up your life, whether you're a youngster, a senior citizen, or somewhere in between. And dogs have a whole lot of affection to share. Okay, is that good? You don't have to go far to hear heartwarming adoption stories.
With my husband is like saying man's best friend. He truly loves that dog. He feels it's part human. It's his second daughter, as Erica said. It's definitely a prize. She's queen of the house, basically. She's a good lover. She gives us a lot of attention. She's a good girl.
We had a cat before we had Abby, and Abby adapted very well. She is best friends with that cat. She will not harm that cat in any way. She's amazing. I love her. When I'm in bed at night, Abby will jump up with me and she will pull the covers back and she will lay under the covers and lay her head on the pillow just like a human.
I encourage anyone to go to the Lorain County Kennel to adopt a dog. It's given our family great satisfaction and a great reward.
After, you know, a bad day at work or anytime you come home, it's just always nice. They kind of turn your mood around when you come in the door and they wagging their tails and jumping on you, and it's a great feeling to know that they're happy to see you and that they love you just as much as you love them. She is good with our other dog. She's good with people. She likes attention, and she likes to cuddle up with you.
It's funny when Lily, when you kind of discipline her sometimes when she does something bad, or she always seems to roll on her back and put her paws in the air and just look up at you with a sad look. So it's kind of hard to even get mad at her when she does something like that. So we kind of laugh at that.
And it's always amusing when she does get a spurt of energy and want to run around, and we're always like, oh my gosh, Lily's going to play now.
Yeah,
so
like sometimes, like when I'm on the couch or whatever, and she'll hop down, and she always like tries to bite her own tail, and then that kind of like keys on our other dog, Rocky, to chime in and try to, you know, bite at her tail a little bit, and then they start playing around a little bit.
One day we came home with some food from, I just really wanted a burger. So we had a burger, and I had it sitting on the tray table by the couch, and I got up for a minute and got a drink, came back, and Lily was licking her lips. She had eaten the whole thing, and I was not very happy with her. So I screamed and told Kurt to come down and get her away from me because I was just so upset. But we both lived, and I was fine afterwards. One of the best things about adopting a dog from the kennel, at least for us, was, again, just giving this dog, who knows what would have happened to her, a new life, and also giving our other dog a companion during the day. It's just fun to have the two dogs and take them for walks and watch them play, and it brought us closer as well.
You know, it just makes you feel better as a person that, you know, you're giving a dog a better chance to live a life.
Actually, I enjoy the exercise because I need to, trying to lose weight. Salem makes me get out of the house every day, and so I have to take him for a walk, even if I don't want to. And he's not that much trouble because he was pretty much housebroken when I got him from the pound. I really like the older pet because Salem was kind of, whoever had him before, they really kind of housebroken, so I didn't really have to go through the potty training deal. I just had to let him out and find a place for him to go. And I think older pets, especially for people who don't have children, are kind of good because Salem, he's real playful, but he's not. He gets tired and he lays down and he doesn't want to be bothered, and that's fine with me. So he's not always wanting to play, you know, because puppies have a lot of energy. And Salem has quite a bit of energy, but sometimes he just lays on his pillow and he's like, don't bother me, I won't bother you. And sometimes when he wants to play, and that's okay. I got Salem at the Lorain County Dog Pound. I found him on the internet, actually. They had his picture on the internet, and so I called and he was still there. And so I immediately went over and looked at him. We went outside and played, and he jumped in the car and wouldn't get out, and there we were. So we were on our way home. So it was love at first sight. He's a very good companion. I can always depend on him to be here and greet me with, open arms when I come in the door. He's very protective of me, and he lets me know when anyone is outside or in the driveway. So I feel safe with Salem. Even though he's a small dog, he gives me a safe feeling just in my own home. If I'm having a bad day sometimes and I'm just not in a real good mood, he'll come up and snuggle up to me like, "Hey, Mom, it's okay." I think other people should adopt a pet, and even an older dog. The Lorain County Pound has so many wonderful dogs. All you have to do is go over there and look. I mean, even now, I still go on the website and I tell Salem, "Don't you want a little brother or sister?" Because they have all these little cute dogs over there, and they all need good homes. And if you're looking to adopt a pet, I suggest you try the Lorain County Dog Pound first. I mean, you pay for the license and just a nominal fee, and you got a great dog and a great companion and somebody that's going to be in your life for the rest of your life, and they'll love you no matter what.
Hello, my fellow commissioners and I are here at the Lorain County Dog Kennel on Hadaway Street, just south of Elyria City Discount, Value City. We invite you to stop out and see the facility here. We have lots of dogs available for adoption. We also encourage all dog owners to register your dog each year and get a dog license. That's your dog's ticket home in case it gets lost. It has a number and can easily be identified so that your dog can be returned to you in case he or she might take a little walk and you are unaware of it.
Along with the regular licensing that the county requires for all dogs, we also have a special dog license. It's a special heart medical care license tag for an additional $5. And the proceeds from that go to help us when we pick up a stray that's injured, hurt, or needs extreme medical care. It helps defer the cost for us. So next time you get your dog license, please pick up the special heart tag.
The Lorain County Commissioners would like to welcome you to come down to the Lorain County Dog Kennel. We also have a website that you can check out. Just click on Dogs to Adopt. There's plenty of dogs to choose from. It's like this little girl right here. This is Sadie. You can come down, make sure it's a good match for you, take the dog out, take it for a walk. But please, if you're thinking about adopting a dog, come out to the Lorain County Dog Kennel and see if there's a match for you.
Give the Lorain County Dog Kennel a call or check their website for photos of currently available dogs. Remember, your best friend is just waiting for you.
In 1787, the Continental Congress organized the lands from the Ohio River to the Mississippi into the Northwest Territories. In 1803, the first of these territories to become a state was Ohio. Ohio was in turn divided into various land grants, including the Connecticut Western Reserve in the northeast corner of the state. The Western Reserve included the area that is today Lorain County. As Ohio gradually increased its counties to the present 88, the land we know as Lorain County went through several changes. Until 1810, the area was split between Geauga and Portage counties. When the area was being organized into Lorain County in 1822, it was created out of land from Huron, Cuyahoga, and Medina counties. At the time of its birth, Lorain County included Olmsted Township, now in Cuyahoga County, Spencer and Homer Townships, now in Medina County, and Troy and Sullivan Townships, now in Ashland County. This map illustrates the county as it appeared at the time of Ohio's centennial. And although some of the townships have been absorbed by incorporation, it also represents the shape of Lorain County today. Let's take a brief historical look at each of Lorain County's 21 townships. In 1807, the Calvin Hoadley and Herman Bronson families of Waterbury, Connecticut, began the settlement of Columbia. After a 3-month trek, the pioneers arrived in their new homeland in time to celebrate Christmas. The Bronsons, including their 7-month-old son, began that winter sheltered by their overturned bobsled wagon, converted into a frontier lean-to. The mouth of the Black River also saw the beginning of its first settlement in 1807, when Azariah Beebe established a trading post for Nathan Perry. This area, which 20 years earlier had seen a short-lived Moravian mission, would gradually grow into the village of Charleston in the township called Black River. Years later, this township would be removed from county maps because of the incorporation of the city of Lorain. Charleston adopted the county's name of Lorain when the city was incorporated in 1874. The dramatic growth of the city was spurred on by the expanding fishing and shipbuilding industries. In 1894, when Tom Johnson brought his steel mill to town, Lorain's destiny to be the county's largest city was assured. In 1813, the township of Ridgeville was officially organized. 3 years earlier, members of the Beebe, Terrell, and Root families had established this new settlement they called Rootstown. The change to Ridgeville was decided upon to indicate the sand ridges that passed through the area and provided transportation routes and fertile farmland. The area around the intersection of Butternut Ridge and Roots Road, first called Briggs Corner, was by 1880 known as Fields Corners and was the site of the town's water well. With the growth of the city of North Ridgeville, the township of Ridgeville was incorporated out of existence. In 1810, Silas Wilmot, along with Asa and Ira Morgan, erected a cabin on Butternut Ridge, and the community later called Eaton Township was begun. Wilmot married Chloe Hubbard of Ashtabula, and they were given the cabin, thereby becoming the township's pioneering couple. When Ridgeville Township was organized in 1813, it included Eaton, which was at that time called Holbrook. While the area was still a part of Cuyahoga County, the township of Eaton was separated from Ridgeville. Its first officers were elected in 1823, while the township was in transition to the new Lorain County. Amherst's township's founding can be traced to one Jacob Shoup. After first settling on the Black River, he moved in 1811 to the Beaver Creek. By 1815, he had erected a grist mill and the area's first distillery. Whiskeyville, today the intersection of Routes 58 and 113, earned its nickname as a center for the production of this important pioneer commodity. As the primary community of the township developed at the Old Spring, it came to be known as Amherst Corners. By 1836, the name Amherstville was recorded in the county offices, and in 1873, the town was incorporated as North Amherst. In 1909, the U.S. Postal Service had to choose between the villages of North and South Amherst. They chose the former, which then became the official and present-day Amherst. In 1917, in the northeast corner of the county, the township of Avon became another of Lorain County's 21 townships to vanish due to city incorporation. In 1814, Wilbur Cahoon had arrived from Montgomery County, New York, to become the first to settle in what was then Troy Township of Cuyahoga County. The farming community grew around its power source, the French Creek. Development along the interurban line would incorporate the northern part of the township into the city of Avon Lake in 1911, with the remainder of the township becoming the village of Avon in 1917. It was families such as the Burrell, Day, and Roots who established themselves in the Sheffield area in 1815 and 16. The township of Sheffield would not actually be created until 1824, when the newly elected Lorain County Commissioners made the township one of the first acts of their administration. The land had been primarily in Cuyahoga County prior to the 1822 reorganization. The southwest corner of the township was in Huron County and is today the only place to find a small section still called Sheffield Township. The remainder of the area has been incorporated, like its neighbor Avon, with the north becoming Sheffield Lake and the south the village of Sheffield. In 1816, Colonel Henry Brown of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, purchased a large tract of land known as Number 6, Range 19. Mr. Brown would later name the township after himself by simply adding Helm to his family name. Like the Old Saxon Ham, the suffix meant home. The Deacon Shepherd family were the first settlers when they arrived on July 4, 1817. The village of Brownhelm Mills, located in Benjamin Bacon's Mill Hollow, was one of 3 communities to develop. Bacon's Corners, or the center, was 3 miles east of the hollow, while just west of the hollow was Rugby, where stores, a church, a school, and the post office were located. The first settlers to the Grafton Township area were Jonathan and Grendall Rawson in 1816. 10 years later, the Rawsons were forced to build a grist mill, or forfeit their land under their original agreement with the Western Reserve Land Company. Railroads and quarries were the greatest influence on the growth of the village the locals called Rawsonville. The quarrying industry in particular was responsible for the influx of French-Canadian, Welsh, Irish, Polish, and German immigrants. In 1877, when the village was being incorporated, the name Rawsonville was dropped in favor of the railroad station name of Grafton. Originally a part of Elyria Township, Carlisle was settled in 1816 by John Bacon of Windham County, Vermont. When the new Lorain County was being organized in 1822, Carlisle Township became its own entity. LaPorte developed as the township village with Phineas Johnson as the first postmaster and hotel owner. In 1840, Anson Brayman's Carlisle Nursery became the first of its kind in Lorain County. Quarrying was another important industry of the township, as the sandstone blocks were used for city buildings as far away as Toronto. Founding father Heman Ely owned over 10,000 acres of the land that would be developed into the township of Elyria, and the city which also bears his family name. In 1817, Artemus Beebe headed a work crew that came to establish a new village at the Y of the Black River branches. Mills were constructed and the main street cleared. Beebe's crew also erected a home for Mr. Ely at Broad and East Bridge Streets, and a home for himself across the street, which became the Beebe Tavern. Both structures avoided demolition until well into the 20th century. In 1822, Mr. Ely spearheaded the movement to create Lorain County. He donated the land for the county courthouse, thus influencing the choice of Elyria as the county seat. Mr. Ely's little village would develop into a city with a varied industrial base as well as the center of government for Lorain County. Simon Durand came to America as an interpreter for Revolutionary War hero French General Lafayette. Durand remained in the new nation and in the winter of 1817 moved from New York State to the 160 acres he had purchased south of Brownhelm. 10 years later, the population of the area was enough to support the formation of a new township. With the southern portion ceded to Brighton and the northern portion annexed from Brownhelm, the township of Henrietta was created in 1827. Although New England families represented the majority of settlers to the area in 1818, one of the pioneers was William Welling of Montgomery County, New York. History is not clear if the community was named in honor of Welling or for the famous English Duke of Wellington, hero of Europe's recent Napoleonic Wars. With the coming of the railroad, Wellington grew into an agricultural marketplace, and in fact was the nation's leader in cheese production from 1870 to 1900. The county fair, now located in Wellington, helps to continue the depiction of small-town America shown in native son Archibald Willard's famous painting, The Spirit of '76. In 1818, Joseph Sage and the family of his son-in-law, John Laborie, journeyed through a severe winter from Connecticut to their new homestead in Huntington Township. More pioneering families came to the area, and by 1822, the population was such that the Medina County Commissioners incorporated the township, using the Huntington, Connecticut hometown of many of the settlers as its new name. Lumber, grain, and cheese dominated the local economy. In 1824, when Lorain County came into full operation, Huntington was transferred from Medina County. The citizens of Old Russia Township, that had been first settled in 1818, requested detachment from Black River Township in 1825. The town and college of Oberlin were founded in 1833 and would grow to dominate the area. The Oberlin concept combined a Christian community and a Christian coeducational institute. Through the influence of founders John Shippard and Philo Stewart, New York businessman Arthur Tappan, and noted evangelist Charles Finney, the college would become not only co-ed, but also multiracial and the nation's leader in the abolitionist movement. The independent spirit that created the first Russia Township was evident once again in 1992, as New Russia Township detached itself from Oberlin. In 1820, the Peter Penfield family began the permanent settlement of the area he had first selected in the fall of 1818. Penfield Township's organizational election was held in April of 1825. The first religious service was held in 1826, and the first school was in session in the summer of 1829. The township's first post office put the emphasis on post and not the office. As the Penfields lived well off the established mail route, a hollow tree near the river was used by the local residents for sending and receiving the mail. The township, with its fertile soil, grew into a part of Lorain County's rich agricultural heritage. In the fall of 1820, Abner Loveland, Jr. became the first permanent settler of Brighton. Within a year, the families of Joseph Kingsbury and Abner Loveland, Sr. had arrived, and the new community began to grow. With elections held in the spring of 1823, Brighton Township was being organized at the same time the area was being transferred from Medina to Lorain County. Like much of the new county, Brighton was essentially agricultural. Although Pittsfield's first settlers arrived in 1813, the area was considered too dangerous because of the British and Indian activity connected to the War of 1812. By 1820, the land was surveyed, and Milton Whitney became the owner of a large parcel. Whitney arranged for the Waite brothers of Russia Township to become the first permanent settlers in the spring of 1821. By 1831, there were enough residents to request that the county incorporate a township independent of Wellington. Pittsfield was chosen as the township's name to honor the Massachusetts hometown of many of the area's pioneers. LaGrange Township's first settler was Nathan Clark, who in the fall of 1825 established his new homestead on the east branch of the Black River. By the summer of 1826, 14 more settlers had arrived. The name LaGrange, which is French for the farm, was chosen to honor French General Lafayette, as it was also the name of his country estate. In 1827, the area was separated from Carlisle Township and reorganized with elections in April into the new township of LaGrange. By 1875, the center had grown into a village, also incorporated as LaGrange. The pioneer settler of the Camden area was Leonard Clark. Over the next 4 years, other families moved into the area, including Roswell Babcocks, who built the first frame house in 1833. Early on, the area was divided between Henrietta and Brighton townships. In 1835, the new township of Camden was created by the county commissioners and the first elections held in April of 1836. When the first post office was established in 1835, the community was called Panelise. The name was changed to Camden, then later to North Camden. In 1852, the Lake Shore and Michigan Southern Railroad called its station Binghamton, but that was soon changed as the town adopted the name Kipton. Kipton's more important connection to the railroad was a tragic collision in 1891. The wreck was instrumental in the creation of standardized or railroad time. Rochester was the last township within the present-day boundaries of Lorain County to be settled. Stephen Babcock brought his family from Massachusetts in the spring of 1832 to settle on land he had prepared the previous year. The area grew quickly, and by 1835, the commissioners formed a new township with the first elections held in April of 1836. The township's farming and related businesses grew with the population. By 1880, close to 700 citizens lived in the area. The population shifted from Rochester Center to Rochester Station when the Big Four Railroad came through the township. The small-town boom would turn to bust when the railroad eliminated Rochester as a scheduled stop. The depot would be used as a schoolhouse, as the home of the Rochester Rod and Gun Club, and today as the home of the Rochester Historical Society.
Thank you.